Hi, this is Matthew, and this is Conversation with God number 6. So you're watching number 6, and there's a number of, 45 people watching these, and that's a good update. People ask me, when is your next Conversation with God going up? I really like them. And it solves, it's a couple of purposes. It gives me like a conversation with God and some understanding. I certainly ask questions that I want to know. Someone has told me that they really enjoy my questions. I ask good questions, and I'm continually asking God questions, and I'm talking back and forth with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit all day, and saints and different entities, angels. You don't remember a lot of what is said. So it's good that I've got these recordings. I can go back and listen to them at any time. So you're fully aware of this cough. It likes to manifest. And when I get into deep subjects on blueprints and different deep subjects on this conversation, from these conversations I have with God, I get a coughing fit, and it sort of highlights the good points, highlights the points that the enemy's not happy with. I've got a touch of cold. I've got playing with a sore throat, not a sore throat, but a difficult throat for 6 weeks. I'm proof that Christians can get sick. So I'm drinking an apple cider. I really like them. Once every couple of weeks I get a few of them. So you've probably seen me drinking one before. Quite enjoyable. Never have enough apple ciders to be inebriated, but there's certainly a taste, a nice taste when alcohol's involved. So cheers to all the people. Now, I've got some questions. There's a new woman moved into my life, a young 18-year-old woman, and she's very pretty. She's very attractive. She's very friendly, and it looks like she's going to become a good friend and move into that PA position that I was looking at a couple of weeks ago, or I think I mentioned it in my conversations with God. So sort of, what do? You want a girl that'll travel the world with you, be with you all the time, assist you in your office, be your right-hand man. You want someone who's got big vision. And she's used to go to church, and she was 10, so she's very open to Christian things. And we actually prayed for her. She had to have some finances, and God provided the finances to me that I could give to her. And she was really blessed. She really needed it. And she was saying in the text that God really came through for her. And anyone that hangs around me starts to understand God. So we'll get into the first question, and then we'll see how far it goes, and see how long it goes. If you know me, there's no limit to how long my videos go. It's just how long they go. And of course, when you clicked on this, you had an awareness, because it tells you how long the video is, and you click on it prepared to listen to it. There was one long one, 3 hours and 54 minutes. People that enjoyed that really love to hear me speak and love to hear God speak. So question 1, how have you enjoyed my prophecies and blueprints over the last few days? So I wrote these questions last night. Been having some amazing blueprints and prophecies. Just wanted God's opinion. So God says, you've been doing amazing things. We use you to reach out to a model on the sugar daddy site that you joined, that we called you to join. And you did a blueprint over a model, you did a blueprint over another attractive girl there. There's a lot of things in their blueprints that were similar to your life. And when you did the model one, if people watched the blueprint, you were sort of pretty convinced that she's going to do everything you do, and she looked like your partner. And she never even responded to that, which you sort of expected. 3/4 of people that get blueprints off you don't really talk to you because they've seen exceedingly abundantly more than I can ask to think. They've seen that on a video, and it just totally wrecks them and blows them away. So you used to have strong prophecies, and people didn't respond because they just, wow, they didn't know what to say. These blueprints have gone to another level of rejection because they're so powerful and so amazing. And if you're watching this, I'd encourage you to watch some of the blueprints and order one for yourself. And this is God doing a sales spiel. And so I'd encourage you to watch them. You'd know what they are, but essentially, if you don't know what they are, there's something, a new gift I gave Matthew a number of weeks ago, and he can list about 9 or 10 different things that I want the person to do with their life that they were created to do. And so many of the things are similar to what he does because he prophesies out of himself, and so many of the things that he sees for other people are in him too. And so it's easier for him to see. Just like if you're a real encouraging person, you really notice other encouraging people, and the other encouraging person will really encourage you, and you recognize that they're so encouraging just like you. If you're really honest, you notice honest people. If you've got good integrity, you notice people with good integrity. Whatever's in you, you recognize really well. And so it's out of Matthew and what his capacity, he prophesies, and so many things, 8 out of 10 things he prophesies on these blueprints are already in him. And so when he came across this model and every one of the points was his, he got really emotional. And Satan hit him the next day and said, "You're just using a blueprint to talk someone into marrying you." And it was pretty amazing. And yeah, Satan gave him the idea that he totally made that up and manipulated it to try and get that person running after him, and it didn't work. And it didn't work because it was right and it was powerful and pushed her amazingly away. So I have been in there, so I've been enjoying your prophecies and your blueprints. You enjoy doing a prophecy over people's life. You really enjoy these blueprints because they're just so comprehensive. It's so good. There's going to be years to come where you're still doing blueprints, but your time will be worth a lot more and they'll cost a lot more. But you're going to build a team of people who will do the more inexpensive blueprints because they'll understand how to do them, and you'll pray that sort of equipping over people and really be amazing. So I'm really touched by the blueprints that you did, especially the free ones for those couple of girls. And it's really exciting for you to be powerfully used daily, touching people's lives and challenging people's lives and giving people direction and encouragement and blessing through the blueprints and through the prophecies. So you're doing a wonderful job. So we had major issues with the T-shirt company in the last 24 hours. I got so upset because you said, but you said it was just warfare. So I lost it. I was almost swearing. You got to be pretty angry when you say the F word in typing. And I had it a couple of times when I typed, and then I took it out and edited it because guy was helping me, was doing it through text, and it was very frustrating. And I just finally said to him, ring me. One of the points he had to tell me 5 times for me to understand it. It was so complicated to me. It was so hard for me. Just proves it was totally impossible for me to set this thing up myself. And because what happened was I had a wrong email when I originally set up the store. And so the store didn't recognize me, and I found that out, got the email fixed. But that wrong email was used to the fulfillment company that actually ships the products and get the messages off my store. Because they had the wrong email address, they sent me out an email to register my account with the fulfillment company, and I never got the email because it had a wrong address. It would have been returned. So what happened is 4 people ordered orders, but the orders hadn't been paid for, and the orders got paid for by the people, but the fulfillment company hadn't been paid. Yeah, so that was what was happening, so I hope that was all me speaking. I think so. I'm a bit tired, so God says, yes, it was warfare. This store, you've said it a number of times to people that if we had told you the hassle and the hoops and the stress you would have had to go through to build this store, if we had warned you of that, you would have never done it. If you knew it was going to be so impossible, you would have never started. And so we couldn't tell you. We've got certain wisdom and certain understanding that we don't tell people the full picture. So many people in this world want to know the full picture. They want to know what they're going to do with their life, and every step they want to know everything in advance before they start. But anyone goes out in the car, goes to a destination, they don't have to wait until every light is green going to the destination. When they're all green, they start, because by the time they get to a green light 5 miles up the road, it's red. And so you can't have everything planned before you start. You can't have all the answers before you start. And life, the Christian life, is about taking one step at a time. And so we couldn't tell, sometimes we can't tell the whole future to a person because they wouldn't attempt it. Like if we had told Matthew the hassle, how pushed and stressed he was going to get, he would have never done that. Today he just got the second 20 shirts for his shirt design company, and within a couple of days they'll be live on the store, which will be good. And he was so stressed. He's walking out of his room in the last 24 hours, walking out of this office, and we just said to him that it was just warfare. You're just going through warfare because the enemy doesn't want this. And he listened to the conversation I had with him and told him how the shirts are going to have glory on it, and we're going to raise up the glory brands. And the next day, when he launched the T-shirts, only one person made an order or something, and he said, "Oh, I spent all this money and no one's buying it." It's amazing to behold that. Got hundreds and hundreds of people on your Facebook reading your posts, and you've sowed into them, you've taught them, you've helped them, you've encouraged them, you've taught them things, and yet when it comes to them actually spending money and supporting you, it doesn't really happen. And Matthew got a real shock because he thought his store would just take off because his Facebook friends would all go and get a T-shirt and support it, and only 4 of them did. And it's quite surprising that 4 of them are listening to, I think Matthew thinks the whole 4 of them are watching these conversations with God. So it was difficult for him. It was had a lot of warfare, and got really upset with the guy on the phone when he rang. And the guy said, "No need to apologise. I see it's really stressful for you, and you're very bit of a perfectionist, and you always want things done right, and it hasn't been right, and so you've been frustrated, and I understand." So the guy talked him around and said everything was fine. So that guy's on a retainer, a certain amount per month, just to update the store and maintain a mailing list and do different things. And he'll be very effective to to the success of the store. Question, he crossed out 3. Question 3 was, am I going to enjoy church today? Well, he stayed up all night, and he got to an hour before he was meant to leave for church, and he just got so tired he went to sleep, and so he missed church. Everyone at his church loves him and likes him, and his pastor reached out to him tonight and said, "Is everything okay? Are you okay?" And he just cares, not saying, "Hey," what he's found out about his church is when he misses church, everyone misses him, and they're not so concerned that he had a day off church. They're concerned that they didn't get to meet him and spend time with him. And they've said that so many times that Matthew's convinced, and he's never known a love like that. He's never had an understanding of love like that. And he really doesn't like to miss it, but he did miss it. So, yeah, that was question 3. Question 4, are you proud of everything that I'm doing? Matthew, I'm so proud for you. You've now got a couple of females, 3 females, one female that you're meeting for lunch tomorrow that's keen on you, and we're starting to show you that although she's keen on you and you're keen on her, she's not the wife that's going to travel the world with you and preach powerfully, and she's not the destiny wife. And you're going to meet her tomorrow and say that, sorry, that I was leading you on, and I'm really touched with the fact that you care for me, and I really do care for you. But you don't fulfill the criteria of the wife that's been promised and the wife that's going to be with me. And so I won't be able to pursue the relationship, but I certainly pursue a friendship and be a friend to you. And it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard, but you've got to do that, because it's the first time you're meeting her tomorrow, and she's going to have all her feelings up, and in the midst of the conversation, it'll be a lot better for you to share that truth with her without having like a girlfriend interest just to make yourself happy. We know that you're waiting for the woman and the wife, and we've shown you that this one isn't, and we want you to let her down gently and really apologise to her. So we led you to this website for a reason, and it looks like you found a reason now, that you found a couple of these 18-year-old girls that you really care about, that you're going to help and be a friend of. And it turns out that one of them is looking very promising to come and work with you 2 days a week and be a PA for you. And that would be really good. And you don't know the future, but you sort of didn't want to put ads in the paper about, need a Christian, need passionate Christian, wants to travel the world and, be committed to traveling around the world all the time and serving me. You just didn't think you could run an ad in the paper, in the website, for a popular website for employing people, and get that person. And you sort of knew that that woman, you always wanted a woman because you love women. You knew that that woman would probably come from some other way other than running an advertisement. It looks like to you that she's manifested and she really wants to be a friend. And you've asked her comprehensively about things, and she's always had a dream of traveling through Africa and helping the Africans. And with your relationship with Auty, that you're going to be spending a lot of time traveling through the poorest nations in the world and doing great works and ministry in those nations. And this PA will just be with you, and you really, she would make a really good wife for you, though people have exception with a 52-year-old with an 18-year-old, but we'll see how things play out. And you certainly can see your wife with you all the time, and you can see a PA, whether you've got an 18-year-old PA that becomes your wife and turns a lot of heads. She's certainly going to turn a lot of heads. She's very pretty. But she'll be a PA / friend / see where it goes, hey? And your heart's involved and you love her. So that's the reason. There's less of a reason to be on that site now. And we called you onto that site. And the PA's left now because it doesn't suit her, and she really doesn't want to offer her life and body up to men just for money. But she was in a pressed position, and now from next week you can probably solve that with paying her $200 a week to be a PA for a couple of days a week. And then you can slowly transition, because you've got another job 3 days a week, so you can slowly transition her out of that other job into your job. So there's no risk, and sounds really good. And you really think that that's it. And over the coming weeks, as you do these conversations, the people listening will say, "Oh yeah, Jess, she's the PA. There she is. She's on the conversation with God. Hi, people, how are you? I'm the PA. I'm the one he's talking about." And you really enjoy doing her and meeting her and seeing her on the conversations with God. And that would be really good if it happens. And I am talking. This is God talking. And so it's all looking good. And we know that you're after it. And we know that you didn't specifically advertise because you didn't feel right about doing that. And it looks like we've brought her in, and that's good. The girl that you meant to thought that you were going to start something with, you've got to tell her tomorrow that although really care, you just can't have a normal wife. She's got to be an exceptional wife, and you're so sorry. And she'll accept it well. She's not too engaged with you yet, and she'll do well. What else are you doing? You're doing blueprints and prophecies. You just got your next 20 shirts designed, and they'll be loaded onto the store. Some of the designs are absolutely fantastic. You look at the 40 shirts now, and then these 20 are really good and really easy to read. And people listening, you go to the store, you're going to have a trouble not buying 2 or 3 of them. They're really awesome. And we're really proud of you doing that. We're proud of everything you're doing, Matthew. And we're proud of your patience and your resilience. We're proud that at the end of your day, when you're really tired, you still did this video. About 20 hours ago, that you got the questions for this video, and now you've sat down and you've got to do our questions and updated it. Like we talked about, you're not going to church, but one of your questions was I going to enjoy church today? So we're doing like a 14-hour or longer. You can't really remember how many hours, but we're doing like an update after 14 hours after you were going to do it before. Question 5, I heard that we were not going to use advertising for the t-shirt shop until we had 200 shirts. Is that right? That was right. There's professional ads that you can run, and the ad will lead someone onto a landing page, which is like a sales page that's got the sales spill, and then it'll take them to the shop or whatever it does. You don't know what it does, but there's professional top-class advertising you can do to strangers and convert them into sales. And you're not going to be doing that until you've got at least 200 shirts in the shop, because it made it really clear to you that better to get a customer in when they've got 200 shirts and have them totally amazed and totally want to buy so many of them, and find out that they've only got $100 and there's $300 of shirts they want to own, so they come back. Then only having 20 shirts there and them only finding one and not coming back, we're saying there's not really many shirts there. And when people sort through that store and look at the shirts, when there's 200 in there, they're going to feel like they're reading the book of Proverbs. The Christians are going to be saying, you know, Matthew's written a new edition of the Proverbs. Some people will recognize that the spirit of wisdom, like the wisdom that was on Solomon's life, was manifesting over your life as you were writing those quotes. And so you did hear that. Just gonna keep on rolling them out as fast as the money comes in, as much as you can afford it. You just keep on paying $300 each time to get a whole new batch of 20 shirts, and you're just pumping that out and filling that store up. You've got about 120 quotes, so you like to sit down and write for 10 minutes and write about 10 or 15 more. That's really relaxing for you and really enjoyable for you. You really love to do that. And so you'll always have quotes, and you'll always have inspiration, because you're not getting them from yourself. We're using your character, we're using your knowledge and your understanding. The spirit of wisdom is coming upon you and creating these things, and it's really amazing. And in a couple of days' time, you can go into the store and see what Matthew's talking about. Question 6, I think I met the PA that I need. Do you think I'm right? Well, we've discussed that already, Matthew. Meeting on Wednesday for coffee, and you can have a chat face to face. You've spent quite a bit of time on the phone with her. She's really likes who you are and wants to be your friend, and you're just talking around with maybe starting next week as a PA, and she really needs some money, and so we'll see. Hey, I can't tell you everything. Hey, I've got to hold some secrets there. Number 7, she's very pretty and very sweet. I just want to sow into her life, so we inspired Matthew to give her a bunch of money, and she was a bit concerned in his conversation half an hour ago, like, why were you short of rent? And her parents were supporting her from a country town, and they've just really cut back their support, and it left her short for rent. And so she hadn't got as many work shifts as she did, and her money was down, and she was behind in the rent. and we're able to inspire Matthew to give her the money that she's needed. And even while he was talking last night, $400 came in. He was chatting to her on text for a couple of hours, and while he was chatting, $450 came into his ministry, and we said, that's for her, give that to her. And so she's very pretty, and she's very, very sweet, and she's going to make a wonderful friend for Matthew, and he's talked about her future and stuff, and she's really encouraged that would be a great future, and she's pretty well agreed to come and work 2 days a week and then go on to leave her veterinary practice that she works at if he's got a full-time job. So pretty well had the interview, but we're just meeting. He's just meeting her on Wednesday. Question 8, thanks for helping me fix the store today and getting orders on the way to be fulfilled. So we said before that there was 4 orders that were at the fulfillment company but hadn't been paid for, so they weren't printing the T-shirts and sending them out. So if you're watching this video, it's on the way. In the next 5 days, they'll be ready and they'll be shipped. So maybe 10 days and they'll arrive. Matthew's not up happy about the fact that it's got a $20 shipping charge. It seems really expensive. It should be more like $6. But there's nothing he can do. He made the shirts as less profit as he thought. We gave him the figure of $7. $7's a good number with us, and we said that you can make $7 per shirt, $7 to $12 depending on the size of the shirt. We said that was a good figure, and it's below the average of those stores for T-shirts. And so you've done the best thing that you can, Matthew, and you've done the very best that you can for your people. And so just be proud, and the orders are getting fulfilled as we speak, and everything's working, and everything's been set in motion and fixed up. Number 9, you have every one of my steps planned, don't you? You let me plod along till I find my way. So it's a bit of a mystery why you were on this single daddy site. You did encourage a lot of girls, but a lot of the girls on there didn't want to react with someone that wasn't going to give them money, and they don't need a friend. They want a man to pay handsomely for their company and for their body, and they don't want a cheapskate man who hasn't got any money writing to them and trying to be their friend. You know, they're not on there for friends. They're on there to make a lot of money off people who've got desires for women, people like you, Matthew. And it can be tempting for you, and you've been tempted a couple of times. And the PA came from her writing to you, saying she was interested in starting an arrangement with you. And so I'll just be truthful with Matthew, will be truthful, and I'm going to speak to you here that the conversation started with an 18-year-old wanting to date a 52-year-old, and that's how the conversation progressed and went through its levels, and now we're moving it around to PA and friend, and we'll see how it goes romantically. And but Matthew's not afraid of me saying that there could be a potential there. She certainly, if she qualifies, and she sounds like she has qualified to Matthew, that she just wants to be involved in missions and helping poor people. Sounds like she's going to be really aligned to Matthew with what he wants to do. And she didn't come out of an advertisement on seek.com, the internet. She came she just seemed to came, and she wouldn't have come to Matthew if Matthew didn't have a profile. It wasn't on there. They wouldn't have met. And there's 4 billion people in Sydney, and what's the chance of him striking up a conversation with an 18-year-old girl who's pretty and saying, hey, you want to be my PA? You know, come off really crazy. So we had to arrange it in a way that got them connected. Question 9, you have every one of my steps planned. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so that's right, God. We're answering that. So everything is planned. Everything's coming together. Just like this office came together, it was a step. It was mentioned in Auty's blueprint, and it was a step, and you got it organised. You spent a lot of money getting it organised and arranging it, but too far in your church had the skills to set it up. And so you got everything done, and it really is, people, it's really, the Christian life is step by step, and if you can't really hear the Holy Spirit or be directed by the Holy Spirit, you get your steps wrong. So when you're properly aligned and you're hearing from me and the Holy Spirit, things get better, but we let it plod along, you know. The introduction last night by this girl approaching Matthew, she was interested in Matthew, you know, dating her and taking her out and taking her to bed and spending money and to do that. And we've turned it around to what we want. And so that's how it all started. And people will, in the future, if she's a PA or even someone special, even Matthew's wife in the future, and you'll all know that in the future, because as you're watching this, you're seeing things unfold every day. So if she's the PA that travels with Matthew around the world, people will come back to these will say, well, that's how it started, and it started on a dating site. And then if she turns out, you know, it's hard for Matthew to even contemplate someone so young being that, but Auty showed him today that when King David was old, you know, and getting cold, they brought in a young virgin from Israel to take her clothes off and get into bed with him and keep him warm. And so it was all right for King David when he was really old for a young virgin to come in. And I'd imagine, you know, Mary, Jesus' mother, was 14 when she had Jesus. So imagine a young virgin in those days was pretty young, and so they sort of got married earlier because their lives weren't as long. So Auty said, there's your scripture, mate. You know, if you're ruling and reigning and you're sitting on a throne, it's quite all right for a king to have a young wife. So, yeah, it should be young, all right. So it's all out of the bag there, Matthew, for all your listeners. I know that Auty would be interested. He showed Auty the picture and talked about that, and Auty came out with that scripture and sort of supported him. And Auty can just look at the picture and see demonic influences and troubles. And he said she was really clear, and there wasn't really any issues. That everyone's got issues that they need counselling for, but Auty was sums up and gave Matthew the scripture and the assurance. And yeah, so Auty's someone that you want to get in contact with and get one of these blueprints that Matthew does. Auty does fantastic ones too. And Auty, in his blueprint for Matthew weeks ago, said that the wife is just on the way. You know, she's just at the door. And so Matthew's been really had his antennas up for this wife. So we do have every one of your steps planned, Matthew. And these people are really, who watch this, really enjoy this daily journal and seeing me interact and use a person like, what sort of celibate Christian who's being free of prostitutes for 6 or 8 weeks. What's he doing on a website like that where women are selling their bodies and basically just as expensive as prostitutes, or want to spend men to spend more on them? What are you doing on that site, writing to women and having them offer your body for a price? What sort of sense does that make? Well, it makes a lot of sense. If you made a few friends and you found your PA, it wasn't that expensive. It was 90 American dollars, but it's 150. But your ad would have cost 300, and your ad wouldn't have got her. And so there's a real problem Matthew found placing an ad in the paper saying that you want a born-again Christian. Apparently, you can't ask for that anymore. So, we do Auty step and you plod along. So, question 10, the young girl, Amber, I met last week is so nice, and now I've met Jess, and Jess is the name of the PA, the proposed PA. God said she seems like she will be a good friend to me too. So I wrote that just hadn't had an hour's conversation with her today when I wrote that question, and so it's like a bit behind. Amber's another girl that Matthew met, and he was due to meet her this week, Friday, a couple of days ago, and she cancelled. She said something's come up and she won't be in touch for a couple of weeks. So then this Jess came into his life, and it's another interest of his, and he's interested in women. He's interested in women friend. Certainly get a woman in his office 2 days a week, spending all this time with a young woman. Maybe he could just spend all day talking to her, He's busy for a few hours doing blueprints and doing different things, but she said that she's au fait with social media, and she could run his social media accounts, and that's what he's looked for. And that's one main thing she can post every day. It just does Matthew's head in to think about posting on Twitter, on Instagram, and all the others. And so that'll be just perfect for her to do that every day for him. So it's exciting for him. We're getting to the last page. Question 11. It is amazing how a little attention will lift my day. Little things for those two girls, but it might be little things for those two girls, but they're big for me. And that's true, Matthew, that having Amber as a friend in the future, and directing her and helping her get work, and having Jess come in and be your PA, that would be really good. And you got to prepare yourself, Matthew, with everything that it mightn't happen. And I'm encouraged for you that things are happening like they are, and you think they're happening. And if it doesn't happen, we'll be with you, and we'll be able to help you. But it is true. Those two young girls have brought joy into your life, the same as Sophie, who is 27, that you had a romantic interest with. And you'll tell her tomorrow and not hold her on, and she'll be a little upset, but she'll understand. And so you might have to tell her that you've met another girl, but you're very honest, Matthew. You probably will tell the whole story. So it's going to come a time where there's quite a number of girls around you, Matthew, and you're not going to want for company of girls. They're always going to want to be with you, talking to you. And as I say that, it's hard for you to believe, but we'll see who's God and we'll see who's you. Question 13, why You're becoming so real to me, and it is and so important to me. So Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. So you knew Jesus for all these years, and you had these wrong impressions of me because your dad was a very angry man, and you grew up with legalistic teaching that God's an angry God that demands holiness. If you're a sinner, he has no part of you. So there's wrong doctrines and the major trauma that your dad did in your life that prevented you from knowing me. But things are getting healed. Things are getting broken off. Your dad's dying real soon. And you're going to come these conversations with God, series that I've got you doing, is having you listen to me nearly every day, talk to you and share things with you. And while ever it's blessing people that are watching, and it'll bless people in the future when they go back and watch it all and say, this is amazing how his life came about. So it's helpful on a whole number of ways, and we are becoming close, because that's how you get close. You spend a lot of time talking to a person. When you're in the earth and you want a good friend, they only become a good friend by spending a lot of time together, asking a lot of questions, asking questions about the questions, and then, what do you think of that? And then the other person talking, giving their opinion. So you had a good talk to Jess, and you tried to draw her out on the phone, and she wrote you a text and said, sorry, I don't talk much, I'm really shy. And we'll change that, won't we, Matthew? We'll change that. We'll get her talking. And she can do a daily conversations with God. What's happening in the office of Matthew Robert Payne? So you need me at the moment, Matthew. We're becoming close, and we're going to develop our relationship further and further in order to get you where you need to go. And so this is needed at the moment. Question 14. Matthew was being introduced to Jess last night, and this question is something he said. There's something about the love of a woman that lifts my spirits. Jess really showed that she really cared about Matthew, and she just always wanted someone who was old and mature and a leader and could equip her and teach her. And she just, he talked to her today. She joined that site to not so much to service men and sell a body, but to find that man, to find that one she's looking for. And that's the last conversation he had half an hour ago before he did this video. And so it's true for you guys, as Matthew's not announcing it on Facebook, but you guys listening. This is a girl who not only be's PA and a servant, but what a wonderful wife to have, someone that's with you all the time, traveling with you all the time. And the world will just have to get used to the fact that Matthew's important, and we could only choose a young girl to do that, and train her up over the next 5 years before Matthew starts traveling extensively, and teach her and train her into the prophetic and get her into the office of prophet, and equip her and train her. And what better way to do that than have her 5 days a week at his house? And so that's very, very effective and very, very good. And so there's something about the answer to this question is something about the attentions of a woman that lifts Matthew's spirit. And this has been really encouraging. You've heard Matthew asking these questions. You've heard me speaking about how it came about. It really came about because she offered herself to him. And they talked about it, and we're going to arrange it. And that's why he's going to finance things. And Then we brought the money in, and over the 24 hours, we turned it from that happening to let's just, pursue a friendship and see where it goes, and just give the finances to her because she needs it. So it's a really good question there, because you can sense the joy in Matthew. Matthew knows women at church, but women at church have never reached out to Matthew and been his friend during the week when he needs someone to talk to. And Tufan at church was his friend, and Peter at church is his friend, and Pastor Andy at church don't really meet outside of church. And Matthew really needs some people, or at least his PA, to talk to, engage with outside of work. And you realise that he lost his best friend in New Zealand because we called her away. And so there's been a space for a new woman. And hopefully Matthew feels, hopefully in a few weeks, you'll be able to see her in one of these interviews. And she'll say, "Hi, I'm Jess, you've heard about me." And so when you see her, you'll say, "Wow, he's very self-controlled, not touching that young girl." And I don't know what you think. Well, I know what you think if it's God speaking. Matthew doesn't know what you think. So there you go. There's the news. You can write to Matthew and Facebook him and say, "I don't think that's a good idea. That sounds really weird. I don't know what's going on. Destroy your reputation." So there's all sorts of things you can say to Matthew. And I look after Matthew, and I know the end from the beginning, and I know where this is all going. Question 15 is that why Jesus wants the love of his bride? So the question before, if you remember, says, there is something about the love of a woman that lifts my spirits. And then Matthew goes on to say, is that why Jesus wants the love of his bride? And isn't that a powerful way to end, guys? Isn't that a powerful question to end on? James 4:4 says, adulterers and adulteresses, don't you know that making friendship with the world creates enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. How many of the bride do you feel are enemies? How many people in the church are into the world more than they're into me? And so the bride, having a bride that's solely got her eyes on Jesus, solely got her eyes on the affections of Jesus, those affections from the true bride really lift Jesus' spirit. So we suffer a lot. An analogy Matthew has shared before, which will be remarkable for you to hear. Imagine if these guys broke into a father who had 8 daughters, ranging from about 8 years of age to 18, and all basically young girls and teenage girls. And the mafia gang, the gang, stole all these girls and said, "Okay, we're gonna put them out on the streets to work the streets as prostitutes because they're all gorgeous, and we're going to earn money from them, and some of them we're going to introduce to drugs, and they're going to be drugged out. They're going to serve us, and they're going to sleep to 10 to 20 men a day and earn us a lot of money." Now, here's the deal as the father. You can drive by, you can look at your girls, but if you ever approach your girls, we're going to start killing people in your extended family. And you'll find out real soon that you're not allowed to talk to these girls anymore. You're not allowed to have anything to do with them. How would you be, and this is me asking you, How would you be if you were that father, you're the mother, knowing that your 8 children have seen them and driving past them as they're getting into the cars of old men? How would you cope with knowing that your daughters are getting sexually abused by heaps of men every day and you couldn't do anything about it? How would you, as a parent, how would you cope with it? Where would you put that pain? What special place in your heart would you put that pain so you could be friendly and happy in the world? Or would that pain just totally destroy you? That's the pain we live with. That's the pain me and Jesus live with. That's a real pain. We have to watch millions and millions of girls being raped and molested every night of the week by their parents, by their stepfathers, by their fathers, by pimps. We're going to watch people go into African nations and promise the world to parents and buy their kids. And then they take the kids off and the promise of a job and sending money back to the parents. The kid never sees their parents again, never sees a dollar, works 12-hour days, and is given just enough food to keep them alive. They work hard labour, 12 hours a day, never get money, never get free. That's where your coffee and chocolate come from. When you love chocolate, just enjoy eating chocolate made by a slave. When you're having good coffee, and Matthew loves his coffee, just enjoy the slave losing his life for that. And that's what we live with. That's what we live with. This young girl, Jess, she was moving into the life of prostitution. And today she said that she had a guy booked to come and have a couple of hours with her and have sex. And she'd sent off all these risque photos of her half nude. And he didn't turn up and he blocked her. And she was saying to Matthew, he's got all my photos, you know, it's terrible. I feel so bad. Should I ring the police? And Matthew was able to talk us through it and send texts and talk us through it and say, if you're going to continue on this site, you've got to build protocols. And she had to talk to her younger brother who come and stayed with her, 17, and he stayed with her and he said, you shouldn't be on doing anything that men can come and use your body. And he said, I don't agree with this. And she wrote me a text and said, this is what her brother said. And we agreed, she agreed to go off the site and look for another way to earn money. And she was desperate because she needed money. So Matthew's financed her. He's pulled one girl out of the jaws of this life of selling your body for money. And there's millions and millions of girls who've got no choice, single mothers left in a position, young girls, parents kicked them out, sexually abused. There's so many young girls that are used in pornography and prostitution all around the world because they've got no choice. They need the money. And they've got something that sells, something that's attractive. And if you see Jess on the video in the future, you'll be able to say, yeah, she really is attractive. Old men would pay good money to spend time with her. And it's so sad, and we live with this. All this abuse, all these slaves never seen a dime and been beaten and whipped and fed hardly anything all their life and never getting a dime and in slavery. And people in China, in sweatshops, working 80 and 90-hour weeks, falling asleep at the machine, sewing clothes, falling asleep. They're so full of sleep deprivation. And all your cheap clothes and all your cheap fashions come from those sweatshops. The world is broken. The world is suffering. And we suffer. You know, we haven't got a screen up there that stops us from seeing the suffering. We haven't got something that's stopping us from seeing. We see everything. We see every one of your sins. We see every one of your struggles. Matthew's got a mental illness. It makes him suffer so crazy. We see his tears. We see his suffering. We experience his suffering. The whole world is suffering, and we're suffering because of it. And just like that father with the 8 daughters in prostitution, where do you put that pain? How do you cope with that? And how do you cope that with, 1 billion young women being abused? How do you cope with that? How do you suggest I cope with that? Or a better question for you is, what are you going to do for me to help me cope with that? See, this is why one of the reasons Matthew's getting his head spun out at the moment, what I'm saying. This is one of the reasons I've got this series. It's a lot about Matthew's life and a lot of questions, but sometimes I just get on a question and I really take control and want to say something. What are you doing for all those prostitutes? What are you doing for the brokenhearted? What are you doing for all those people suffering? And what do you do for me? How many of you are there for me? How many of you got a relationship with me that can listen to my pain? Matthew heard me shout for 1 hour straight in anger. 1 hour. Would you endure any of your friends shouting for an hour? You'd have to be really close to that friend to let them go off. He heard me shout for an hour when the New York decision to have late-term abortions happened. I really almost, if I didn't understand the prophetic books, if I didn't know the future, if I didn't know how we're going to change things and the last days and the last harvest, if I didn't have a positive outlook at how things are going to turn around through my last days church, how would you cope? If you were me, how would you cope? And so this question that these Amber and Jess brought joy, and Sophie, who he has to tell the bad news tomorrow, hopefully should continue being a friend. If they really make him happy, does the true bride, the true followers of Jesus, doing everything that Jesus commanded, making all the sacrifices, do they make Jesus happy? Do people who are really obedient and really following everything we teach and really praying and doing their best as a Christian, putting 100% in, when you do that, when you show us your adoration, not just so much in worship, but in the deeds that you're doing, in the obedience, in the surrendered life that you have, you bring joy to our heart and it lifts us up. And you might not even know that you're lifting us up. But you hear a good story on the news that makes everyone happy. You can't play, initially Facebook was having a problem with everyone posting all their good moments in their life, because everyone having friends posting all the good moments in their life, not the bad moments, it was making people depressed. People were getting upset because all their friends were having a good time and they weren't having a good time. But friends weren't their friends weren't saying that I had to break up with that girl. I had to stop the relationship with that girl because she's not the one for me. They're not reporting the bad news, saying the bad news. It's all the good news. And so Facebook knew that there was trouble and did sort of change. You know, you may always wonder, it may be a mystery to you, why is the news always bad news? Well, sadly, bad news makes people happy. And it's just the fact of the matter. The more bad news they pay, the more people say, oh, that's a shame. I wish glad it wasn't me. People are quite happy to listen to bad news happening to all different people all around the world. Every night, they're happy because they tune into their TVs and watch it. They're happy. But if you had the news full of good news, people would start getting upset that it wasn't them and they didn't have to break through. So the news doesn't play a lot of good stories. And people, a lot of you are watching saying, is that why it is? Yeah, that's how it is. That's why it is. So we suffer. Tremendous suffering. Many, many times more than that father with his 8 children. There's so many children. There's so many people I love. People like Jess, people like Amber. There's so many girls in bad positions, selling the body. Amber had 100 guys contact her, ask for pictures and talk to her and spend her time. And she'd made appointments to meet guys, and 3 times guys didn't turn up. So they've went through all the talks, all the conversations, arranged for the price that they're going to pay to meet and sleep with her. And then when she turns up, they're not there. So she's just totally wasted at the end of herself, saying, what do I do? How do I earn money? And who's rescuing those girls? Who's spending time with them? Who's offering them hope? And Matthew's been wondering since he got Jess, should I just leave this place? And yet it's the only place that you could interact with girls that are being prostitutes. And you can't, in Sydney anyway, you can't just meet a prostitute on a train and talk to her because you don't know that she's one. We really haven't got, Matthew really hasn't got many girls walking the streets, and a lot of the girls in Australia that are prostitutes are working in brothels and are paying the brothel owner 40% or 50% of their earnings. But there really isn't a big percentage of prostitutes in Australia that have got pimps that are earning all their money. So Matthew's been told that it's different in Australia than America because most of the women over there are pimped. And that's even sadder because the pimp is living on all the women's money. And it's just terrible. We have to suffer so much. So if you want to make us happy, start to give, start to be Jesus, start to share. You know, you want to make Jesus happy, send some Matthew some money. Or you want to make him happy, go and go to the link under this video and buy some t-shirts and start to wear the t-shirts and you'll start and provoke conversations that'll lead people talking about me. So I've had a really wonderful time sharing my heart with you, giving you the inside knowledge that, hey, watch out for Jess. See the development in Jess. See where this Jess heads. And you can start praying that she comes along and she agrees and starts working for Matthew 2 days a week. And don't you know that we'll be able to bring the $200 in? That's just one blueprint and two prophecies to pay for her wages. And so just watch the development. Aren't you pleased that you tuned in today? If you want to help me, start giving, start being like Jesus, start obeying. Have a wonderful time after you've watched this. If you liked it, press like. If you didn't like it, press the down button, and Matthew will pray for you and dispatch angels to go and work with you. If you member of YouTube, please comment. If you like this video, if you liked it, share it with your friends on Facebook. And if you want to subscribe to Matthew's channel, feel free to subscribe. Isn't it amazing that Matthew didn't do all that? I did all of that for him. Check the link down below. How you can write to Auty and request a prophecy off Auty, request a blueprint off Auty. Do yourself a favour and get ministered to by Auty. Auty has just such a powerful influence in Matthew. And Auty's the one that gave the heads up to Jess that there's nothing wrong with this girl. She's really good. So enjoy yourself. Comment as much as you can. God bless.